All right. Matthew 5. Eye for an eye. Matthew 38. Matthew 5:30. All right. So as we started studying these case studies, right, we saw that the relationship started out very nice and tight. They were Cain and Abel, the brothers fighting. That was a lot of the anger where we started, and then marriage and relationships, and now we're seeing the the circle grow bigger and bigger. And so last week we talked about oaths and why we need to say the things that we do, why we try to manipulate things or make things sound better than they would have to. And and that was kind of, Jesus summarized the law. You don't need to make an oath, but if you do, like, your word needs to be your bond. You need to do what you said you will do. And and for us, that was the key point. You don't need to borrow integrity if you already have integrity, right? You don't need to borrow someone else's integrity. You don't need to swear on anything else, right? If your integrity is solid in the first place. That brings us to eye for an eye. So someone read it, 38 to 42.
You have heard that it was said, eye for eye and tooth for tooth. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also. If anyone wants to sue you and take your shirt, hand over your coat as well. If anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles. Give to them the one who asks you, and do not turn away from the one who wants you to borrow from, who wants to borrow from you.
All right. A lot of you could hear 10 different pastors talk about this passage. You're probably going to get 10 different responses. And so let's try to dig in and find out. We're going to start in verse 39, a weird place, but just so we can try to understand what is Jesus telling us to resist. These verses are often understood to be talking about just being passive, as a command to be passive. Do nothing, just take it, grin and bear it. Anybody ever heard this talk? Yeah? Let me ask you this. Does that sound like Jesus? Did Jesus do nothing? He didn't, right? And so we're trying to understand these in light of Jesus's ministry, and that's what we're gonna because and especially with even with these examples that he gives, did he just say do nothing? Like, every response is a response to do something. Now, it is different than what our natural human nature would be inclined to do, but it's not do nothing, right? So we got to kind of take that one off the board right away. The response to any of these is not just do nothing. There's a message here for each thing that's happening. Um, because if not, if we really took this at the surface reading, like many do not resist an evil person. How might that play out every day? You get picked on. You get pushed over. Okay. You'd answer every scam caller and just give them your credit card information, right? You'd click on every email that you get, just see what happens, right? Don't resist them, right? Can we do that? No, we're not idiots, right?
The laws are written, like he was asking people to limit their behavior.
Mm,
Something is
yes.
What he's talking about is more, instead of like letting people take advantage of us and doing that stuff, to meet them with love instead.
Yes.
Not necessarily letting them all over us.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah, we're hitting all the right notes here in what Jesus is doing in very creative ways. But it's not just to be a doormat. Um, we don't leave our door open and just, if you want to rob my house today, go ahead. Like that's not what Jesus is talking about. Because sometimes Jesus is portrayed as the ultimate pacifist. Right? He allowed himself to be killed. Right? So that's maybe what I should do too. Just let people walk all over us. But yeah, read through the Gospels. Jesus wasn't passive. Jesus wasn't a doormat, but he did find creative ways to engage with people. Did Jesus avoid a confrontation? He did not. Right? And sometimes you're like, man, he's going out of his way to bring confrontation, but right, it's confrontation for a purpose. It's confrontation to shed a light on something that to speak to people's hearts. But he also did it with grace, kindness, and mercy. Right? And sometimes, like, we've talked a lot about Matthew 23, the woe to you passages. Like some of those are rough. Is Jesus just trying to hurt them and hurt their feelings and go make them cry to their moms? He realizes that without some pretty stern words here, that he's trying to jar them loose. So we got some stuff we need to reconcile here. The command is not to do nothing, it's to do something. And so we're going to kind of look at these. The Jesus is inviting a response to each of these situations. So as we look at verse 38, you have heard it said. Where might we find this? Eye for eye, tooth for tooth. In the law, yeah, in the law, exactly. The first time we actually see this is in Exodus 21, right after the Ten Commandments. Exodus 21. If people are fighting and hit a pregnant woman, well, this goes like kind of crazy pretty quick. Like two dudes duking it out, you hit the pregnant woman, and she gives birth prematurely, but there is no serious injury. The offender must be fined whatever the woman's husband demands and the court allows. But if there is serious injury, you are to take life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, bruise for bruise. All right. So this law seems to say, go ahead and take revenge. And so Jesus is saying, take no revenge. Right? If we understand this law, but Drew, you were hitting on something there that's pretty key to understand this. Is this saying you must take revenge? Is that what the law says here?
Maybe the judges need to give the punishments instead of the ones that's expected.
Okay.
That way,
all right.
Get the fair.
There you go. So this is all about justice, right? So this law, Latin, is lex talionis. This is the law of retaliation, and how it's understood, by which the guilty party suffers the same damage that the injured party experience. Jesus actually quotes a version of this idea later in the sermon in Matthew 7:2. And it's widespread throughout the ancient Near East, as well as in Judaism, right? Matthew 7:2. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. This goes back to the Bible times. This goes back to all the surrounding cultures in the earliest law codes from the oldest human civilizations, from Sumer, from Hammurabi. Right, you see this kind of law being put in place. This is a pretty common ethic of the day, and this law actually sounds kind of vicious, right? You knocked out my tooth, right? I get to wind up and knock yours out. I'm gonna keep hitting you until that tooth falls out, right? How else could this law be understood? As we think about case law and lawyer speak. It's a limit, right? If you scratch me, I can't hit you and give you a black eye, and then because I hit you and give you a black eye, what are you going to do to me?
Like the premise.
Huh?
Like the premise.
Yeah, because what happens when these things keep escalating? Huh? You're going to kill each other. That's where this ends, right? Because what started out may be minor, and through this retaliation, all of a sudden things are escalating and escalating and escalating. And Jesus is asking the question here: who will make this stop? Who will stop the cycle? This violent cycle, the viciousness, the anger, the retaliation. Who will be the ones to say we got to find a better way? So the law here is placing a ceiling on the punishment that can be required. And we have this today, don't we? Like if you do the crime, there's some set limit to how much punishment you can receive for that. And so that's no different. If someone caused me to lose an eye, can I demand their life in return? I cannot. And that's exactly what the heart of the law is. And Jesus is saying this, when we get to these points, it's just violence perpetuating violence, right? It's not harmful at all, right? There's no generational blood feuds that are caused by this kind of stuff, right? It happens, right? Happens all the time. It happens in families today. It happens in communities. It happens with neighbors. It happens with coworkers. This stuff happens all the time. And they said this about me, and then I had to say this about them, and then it gets physical, whatever. And just things continue to escalate and escalate and escalate. So what was taken? Go ahead.
We just say that, I was just doing to him what he did to me.
Yeah. Just fair play, right? Yeah. Just fair play. I have the right to do that. The law said so. Right? I get to walk them. I get to whoppers, right? Hey, turnabout's fair play, right? That's the world we live in, right? And not just turnabout, but we gotta get a little extra, right? Make sure they know who they messed with.
There's the old term, I don't get even, I get ahead.
There you go. Yep. And then the next guy's got to get ahead, and Jesus is like, we've got to. This idea of what was just meant to cap limits is now being used to provoke retaliate, to provoke violence against each other in Jesus's thought. So, we talked about Gehenna, though. There is this idea, though, that what we do will be returned to us. Right? Remember the Gehenna fire, those that were burning their children in the fire. And that was the example Jesus used, is that will be done unto you. And that's where the picture that we get of hell in Jesus' writing is this burning in the Gehenna fires that they were sacrificing their own kids in. So the Greek word here is eye for an eye is anti, and it means equal to, instead of, or in recompense for. So an eye in recompense for an eye. And when Jesus responds, he says, verse 39, but I tell you, do not resist. So Jesus doesn't use that same word, anti, it's anti-stenai. So it's two words put together, in place of, equal to, and then also to stand. And it means to stand in opposition to stand in equal position to. And that's real key. And I think it helps us understand what's going on here. To be able to stand in equal position to someone else. The word resist today, just in our language, carries some extra baggage. What might we think if we think of resist or resistance?
Anarchy.
Anarchy, sure. We see that. Yeah.
New rule in school.
Okay. Yeah. Violent resistance. I think that's more and more what we see today in resistance is violence. And you're all over it, Eric. So we have this idea when Jesus says resist, in our modern thinking, we might be thinking in those areas, but then Jesus gives these these examples that are far from violent resistance. What's at the heart of this, and more in line with what Jesus is saying here, is if someone is throwing evil at you, don't throw evil back, right? That makes sense. Like if you've been walking as a Christian for any period of time and understand Jesus's words, like you kind of understand that. And what is saying is he commands resistance, not in kind. So it's resistance that's different. Respond differently is what he asked for.
Says here. It's not natural for us to do that.
Correct.
We're supposed to be supernatural.
There you go. Oh, it's good. It's good. Yeah. Respond differently, because that takes so many times that takes supernatural help, right? To respond different. Jesus is not commanding us to be doormats. He's inviting us to resist in new ways that doesn't escalate violence and tensions, but that does shed new light on what is being done, right? And that's what he's after. It's shedding this new light, creative new ways to respond that shed light on the situations that's happening. And so there's these three examples talk about responding different than we naturally conditioned to, just like Drew said, right? I'm not going to allow how someone else treats me determine how I respond to any situation. So let's dig into these. Tim Mackey, as I was kind of looking over this, he helped me see this in a whole new way, and it kind of changed everything in how we understand these. But first off, does Jesus command? Does God or Jesus ever command revenge? The Bible has a lot to say about revenge. What does it say over and over and over? It's mine, right? You gotta let him get it. He'll take care of it. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, right? That we see that several times. So for one, like revenge is never what was being asked for. God asked for everyone to let me be the one that brings revenge. Paul echoes this in Romans 12 to leave room for God's wrath, right? Things happen that are out of our control, and our natural, just like Jerry Lynn said, our natural is for revenge. And Paul says, let's leave room for God's wrath. Someone read 39 again.
But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also.
Is a slap meant to inflict serious harm to someone? It's meant to humiliate, right? Anyone die from usually getting slapped? No. But it is meant to humiliate, to shame. It's a public insult. It's meant to, harm your reputation. It's also meant as a power move, right? This is asserting dominance. To slap someone is making a statement. And that's we see that in the Bible in Lamentations 3:30. It says, "Let him offer his cheek to the one who would strike him, and let him be filled with disgrace." Right. So even especially in biblical times, the slap was shame. It was disgrace. Because you're being asserted authority over by someone else. Was it any cheek? The right cheek. Wonder if that has any significance. Which hand would I have to hit you with to hit your right cheek? My left. I'm not slapping anyone with my left hand, right? So if that's not the case, how else might you slap someone else's left cheek? With backhand. So a backhanded slap, especially in Jewish culture, is double dishonoring. So what you're saying is my palm, this is what I eat with, right? This is what I wash. This is what's ceremonial clean. You're not even worthy for the inside of my hand. So I'm gonna hit you with the back of my hand. Right? It's just what it's speaking, especially in a culture like this, is just that you are so low, you don't even dignify me getting my hand dirty or slap to the right cheek required the slapper to use the back of the right hand. It's double dishonor. Jewish tradition is more dishonorable than anything you could do in a situation like this. It's a double power move. So what are you doing when you offer your left cheek? You got hit in the you're making them use their palm. Right? And it's just this way of do you still get hit a second time? Like Jesus didn't say just like, hey, just shake it off and go away. No, take it again, but for a very real point, and you're making a statement. Like they wouldn't even touch me with the usable part of their hand, and now we are making the point. You must use your open hand. It's a response, right? It's just not a response in kind. If someone is trying to shame you and you do this, what are you making them think now? Huh?
They have the power.
Yeah, I mean, you're making them think about what they've done and why they've done it, right? And questioning who has the power here in this situation, right? If you think you need to shame me, I'm at least going to make you do it like you would a social equal.
It changes the way of thinking.
You're changing everyone's way of thinking, right? And everyone has to examine, why did he do that? That's weird. Like, for one, why would anyone choose to get hit twice? And then two, what's he trying to say by all this? And remember, this is all very public when this was happening, especially in this culture. You'll read that throughout the Bible and through that slapping is public disgrace. So when you do this in public, it's for everyone to see, and you're changing the dynamic, you're changing the situation. These are all about finding creative ways to redefine this relationship. And Jesus opens a door to a new way of responding to violence that has inspired people throughout history, of not just fighting back, not just harm for harm. If you ever studied Gandhi in his response to the caste system, and he read Jesus all the time. Martin Luther King, these were things that were important to them and they strove for, and it was just finding creative new ways to resist violence that shines a light on what's being done. Now, does that mean that any of these won't come with a cost? Yeah, they're going to come with actually a lot more cost than if you were just to be passive and walk away. Jesus is saying, endure some more so we can make a point. So we can shine some light on what's happening. Does Jesus know what the cost of this will be? Yeah. He does. He knows everything. Is Jesus going to have to walk through some of these things? All right. Yeah. But when we open ourselves up to further shame and force attention to the evil or injustice that's being done, we're taking a stand, right? And that's what he says. Equal to, but we're taking a stand to say that this is not actually okay, right? We're not allowing anyone to say this is okay. We're making them think about what they're doing.
Just like you said, you put a limit on it, that way, if you retaliate, you do something, then you can be worse than what he done to you.
Yes. Yep.
More.
Exactly.
And I think people forget that, you know, when you look at the eye for an eye, well, the ramifications of eye for an eye, so to speak, is
Yep.
probably more severe than just basically giving them the other cheek. I mean,
Right. Right.
there's more humiliation.
Sure.
It seems like it would just torpedo into something else.
Right. Right. Exactly. All right, let's go to the next one. Someone read it. Verse 40.
If anyone wants to sue you and take your shirt, hand over your coat as well.
Oh, that one's fun. All right, so this saying takes for granted the fact that standard form in Jesus' time and place, you consist of two garments, right? You've got your inner garment, that's your shirt, that's your tunic, that's linen or wool worn next to the skin. It's called the chiton in Greek, or the chitonet in Hebrew. So you have that on the under, and then you have your outer garment, your robe, your cloak. It's made of generally heavier wool, and it's called your hymation in Greek, or your simla, or your beged in Hebrew. So Jesus is saying, assumes this is a legal case, a lawsuit, right? There's some case law for when you can take someone's coat and like collateral as something. And so someone is suing you, and they're trying to take your main piece of clothing, and they take this because oftentimes this is one of the most valuable things you own, especially your outer coat. Almost everyone had one, and it's valuable, and it's expensive. So there's this Jewish legal tradition in the Torah that says it's wrong to sue someone and take their outer cloak because it doubled as a sleeping bag and was part of survival. I think I might even have it here. Yeah. If you lend money to my people, to the poor among you, this is Exodus 22, you are not to act as a creditor to him. You shall not charge him interest. If you ever take your neighbor's cloak as a pledge, you are to return it to him before the sun sets, for that is his only covering. It is his cloak for his body. What else shall he sleep in? And it shall come about that when he cries out to me, I will hear him, for I am gracious. All right, so what's the law doing? Setting a limit while still protecting people, right? Yeah, it still has nurture and care. And so Jesus is assuming this is a wrongful suit, and it's common for people to put up their only belongings, like their clothes, as collateral on a loan. However, the painting that Jesus paints here is of this scene is that it's an unjust lawsuit brought by someone who is so greedy and selfish that they would take even your shirt. So, did it say to take the shirt? No. It said to take the cloak, right? Take the outer. There's some shock value here that Jesus is going to get a lot of attention. So if you have two garments of clothes, right? He takes the outer. Just picture it in your mind. What did he say to do next?
Make them naked.
If you give him the outer and then you give him the inner, what are you left with? Nothing. Your sandals. Your Jesus cruisers. Why would Jesus tell him to do this? Being naked in our day is shameful. Being naked in Jewish culture is the worst thing ever. Like that, to be naked in this culture, there is almost nothing more shameful than this.
You see, there's a difference in the season.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Right. If you end up naked by your own actions, but the point is, and I think Jesus says this with a big old smile on his face, right? What, he sued that man and he left him naked? Like, you really took everything from him? Your greed is so much
Harris said.
Right, and then that's exactly what Jesus is doing. Hey, we're gonna put so much attention on what you just did, this wrongful lawsuit, this unjust act, this someone who can't afford it to put up anything else but his clothing, and you're making such a statement that you're bringing awareness to these oppressive actions.
Reverse humiliation.
Reverse humiliation. Did he say to steal their cloak or to? Oh, here's the thing. If you sue me, what am I going to do to you? Countersue, right? Yeah. And then I got to try to get more, and then you got to get more, and then you got to pay my lawyer's fees, and I got, that there's that escalation, and Jesus is saying, do something crazy that's shocking. Craig Keener's a commentator. He says this. He says, Jesus' recommended practice would lead to nudity, an intolerable dishonor in Palestinian Jewish society. Many peasants had only one outer cloak and pursued whatever legal recourse necessary to get it back if it were seized. Without the cloak, a person would be naked and cold because the outer cloak doubled as a poor man's bedding. Biblical law permitted no one to take it as a pledge overnight. Jesus demands that one surrender the one possession the law explicitly protects from legal seizure. Jesus provides a shockingly graphic, almost humorous illustration of what he means by non-resistance to force his hearers to consider their values. They value honor and things more than they value the kingdom. So it's bold, it's in your face. It's making a statement, right? Let me ask you this. Jesus was slapped. Jesus was stripped naked. You think the third one's going to have to do with something Jesus had to do as well? Yeah, right? Because Jesus walked through this. He knew what it meant to take all the shame and all the disgrace. And yet he condemned everyone on the cross, right? Oh, all of you that did this to me. He didn't. What did he say? Forgive them. Forgive them. But he brought light to everything they're doing, right? We read about it 4 times in the Bible. That story is told hundreds of thousands of times every year because of the light he shines on this, on what was happening and that. And it's these ways of shining light. All right, let's read the last one. Someone read 41.
If a soldier demands that you carry his year for a mile, carry it 2 minutes.
All right. What's happening here?
You just said.
He carried his cross, absolutely. Is there some law that they can only carry it so far? There was a law. Romans had, a law on themselves that if they asked you to do something and carry things for them, that you can only go 1 mile. What's Jesus say? Go the extra mile. Yeah, exactly. In Matthew 27:32, he says this was very common. As they were coming out, they found a man of Cyrene named Simon, whom they forced into service to bear his cross, to bear Jesus's cross. Right? He's forced to carry this. Did this man have any say in carrying this cross? No. Right? Because that's the law that's imposed upon him, forced by this Roman soldier to carry this cross, and he would have had to carry it for a certain distance. And a Roman soldier at this time had the legal right to enlist any member of the subject population for forced labor. You can do this, but there are limits. Even the Romans have limits, right? Of what we can do. Jesus calls on his disciples to offer another. Who might you be tempted to go the extra mile for? A friend, someone you love.
Anybody in power?
Okay. How do the Jewish people view the Roman soldiers? Do they love them? No, no, they actually despise them. Those that despise, you hate them, and yet go the extra mile for them. You know, to do this for anyone is remarkable. To do it for an enemy is more than remarkable. Drew said that, you know, that's that, or we need that supernatural, right? This is radical generosity. This is almost scandalous generosity, right? But what are you saying to that in that moment? What's the message? You do that.
But Jesus suggests a new radical response to injustice. Instead of demanding rights, give them up freely to Jesus.
Right. It's my right not to do this anymore. But I'm still gonna do it. What's the message? What's that?
Like on the other cheek, like do the better thing, like for your enemy. Be the kind who one.
Yeah.
Like, give the charity, and then, like even when you don't do the better thing.
Sometimes there's a difference in what's legal and what's right.
There you go. There you go. And go ahead.
It just, we're supposed to be set apart.
Yes,
That kind of stuff is gonna show
that's it.
what's the fruit.
That's it. That's a very visible thing, right? To go walk that extra mile, and you're doing it very publicly. But what it also does, it subverts the power dynamics of the relationship, right? I told you to do one. I chose to do the second. That was my choice.
Each them kind of like,
Embarrassed.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, do you
Yeah.
try to let them carry or do you like
Right. Exactly.
You're her and beat him for carrying it.
And maybe you don't know. You don't know. But what it also does is think about going an extra mile for an enemy. What does it have the potential to do? Or at least the opportunity to do?
change their heart?
For their mom.
Makes human connection, right? It makes human connection. It opens a door. This guy you hated just a minute ago somehow becomes a little more human, becomes a little more real. You know, it's hard to hate up close, right? It's easy to hate when you're when you're on Facebook and when you're talking about people in different countries and when you're talking about those people. What happens when you're sharing space with them?
Kind of like when people are boxers or UFC fighters, they're always, and then after.
Yeah, they're right. Because they've been through something together, right? There's some emotional connection there now. Hard to hate up close, and that's what Jesus is like. Do something radical to change the power dynamics, but also to create. Does that mean that it's going to happen every time? They're going to be your best friend, kumbaya around the campfire? No?
He went something, but it was just, they were bragging about their neighbors, these creepy neighbors, and when it would snow, he was out there shoveling their walk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you said, and they just couldn't hate him anymore. They never asked him to, and they didn't ask to say, did you see what I did? They were just quiet. They, gave stuff to their children and got the message out.
It's good, because if you keep going the extra mile for people, you break down that armor.
And they know that's not natural human. Not
Yeah.
ordinary. They may ask you, why are you too good? Why are you so good?
Right.
Not.
Right. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Sounds like a concert or trail, and you pray for the other person.
Yes. Yes.
Kill them with kindness.
It's radical, right? And it's real easy to say on a Wednesday night. I can say it all day. It comes out of my mouth real easy. But guess what? then we got to go do it. And that gets a whole lot harder, right? Yeah, supernatural. Carrying the load 2 miles is both a demonstration of generosity and a testament to your control over your own body, not the oppressor. Right? The oppressor is saying, "You do this." You're saying, I can do more. I can do more." And just the statement that makes, and it's that I have the dignity to choose. It is. It's crazy, isn't it? Like how you can retaliate in love is only a Jesus thing, right? Like, hey, for one, is he saying any of these things are okay? Jesus is not, right? It's going to happen.
Here's how you deal with it.
And here's creative ways. Is this a book on that Jesus writes on how to handle every situation that we're going to face? No, it's a wisdom ethic. So what's he teaching us?
Basics of dealing with the enemy and like tactics for like when you don't agree.
Yeah.
You just be like him.
Yes.
Yeah, how to reflect his life.
How to reflect, how to think creatively in these fun new ways. Like ain't nobody like naturally thinking, "Hey, I'm gonna take my shirt off after I've already taken my cloak off." Right? And Jesus is inviting us to think new ways through of, for one, stopping the violence, stopping the cycle, right? Examining our own motives, right? Because when someone attacks us, we're hurt, right? It's easy to get hurt. And then when we respond in hurt, what happens? It's just hurt, more hurt and more hurt. And Jesus is like, my people have to be the ones that stop the hurt. Doesn't mean we're doormats. Doesn't mean we allow people to walk on us. What we do is find creative ways to shine lights on what's happening around us. It's not returning kind for kind, but returning his love in kind.
That kind of like innocence and stuff.
Ooh, that's good.
What was that?
To me, when he sends the disciples out 2 by 2, that was the command he gives them: be innocent as doves, but wise as serpents. And the word serpent is the crafty. It's the garden serpent. To be crafty and cunning and think about these things in ways, but doing it all with love and kindness and humility.
It goes down here to, according to Jesus, it's more important to give justice and mercy than to receive it.
That's it. It's right at the heart of this.
Isn't that also, I mean, in a weird way, there's the form of grace that you're not only receiving, but giving.
Right.
In all of this too.
Right. Exactly. I mean, that going the extra mile. And it says, give to the one who asks you, and do not turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you. So he's here, he's setting up next week's. You see how these are all connecting, though, as he goes into love for enemies next. They're all creative ways to be a disciple, to live out the kingdom daily. And it's this idea that when we're being acted evilly upon, Jesus, he invites us to think about that and then think about how we treat others in our day-to-day. Are we doing the same stuff to others? Do we have these power moves that we're playing? And maybe it's not a backhand slap, but maybe it's some power move on social media, or some word we say, or there's a lot of different ways that this happens in our cultures of these power moves and these ways to subvert someone else's dignity or put them down or show someone else how much better I am, right? And Jesus is give to the one who do not turn away, like just invites us to bring this grace and this mercy forward. Is this just limited to violence? No, this happens in a multitude of different ways. You know, when I think about this in our study in Genesis, when we learned about Lamech and he was Cain's descendant, and said, "Oh, he wounded me, scratched me, so I killed him." Right? There's this idea of just blatant disregard for someone else's life and someone else's dignity. That, oh, if they hurt me, I got carte blanche just to go crazy, right? And that's what Jesus is after, is to change the dynamic. And that has to start with us. We have to be the one to say, you know what, it has to stop with me.
It's like you said that somebody goes beyond and you look at people think like if he was like just trying to get in better with somebody or something. But it depends on where his heart's at and how it works on with the people he's dealing with. Because I've seen that in different people I've worked with, and they come out with wonderful career just because they had a heart for what they was doing and they went that second mile to help them people, and the other people notice it, and then they would just keep going up and up and up and up. I've seen that.
Yeah. Any other thoughts?
Let's think about the gospel. I mean, the way every one of us have sinned and what we're worthy of is death, but he took that from us. He didn't just take what could have been ours. He gave us that good.
Yeah. After he was slapped, after he was stripped naked, after he was carried his cross, and in spite of all that, he was thinking of us. Like, how crazy is that? So if he can do that, what he's asking us to do actually becomes pretty easy in the scheme of things, right? He didn't ask us to climb up on a cross. He asked us to pick up the cross. Take up his cross. Yep, that's good. Good. All right, let's pray. Lord God, we thank you for just your word, and Lord, and you're so creative. Jesus, you are just so awesome in the way you see problems, and in the way you invite your disciples to understand problems, that very out of the box thinking in ways that still reveal your love, but still prove the point that what people are doing to each other, especially through violence and devaluing, is not okay, but to stop the violence, to stop the cycle, Lord God. I pray that you would raise up people that would be prepared for that, Lord, because we know that doesn't just happen by accident. That doesn't just happen by happenstance. That we actually remember this, Lord. You're talking about preparing for this to happen, Lord, that your followers would be ready for this and would be ready to respond. That we would be trained up in your ways so deeply that when this happens, we are ready, Lord. And I pray that is the case today, that you would train us up, that you would make us ready, and that we would be prepared for whatever comes our way. And Lord, give us creative minds. Give us ways to think outside of the box and to do things different. Lord, may we be set apart. May we look different. May we act different. May we respond back to people different. And every time we do, Lord, I pray that shines a light on who you are and the grace and the mercy that you've extended to us. And so we remember that today, Lord. We thank you for this time here today, Lord. Just bless us, guide us, and keep us throughout the rest of our week. In your name we pray. Amen. Yeah. Okay.